Hello, everyone, and welcome to this panel. So happy to see some that we already met and talked in different panels, like Emily. Hey, how are you? So let's do a round of introductions. I will be last. Maybe Marianne, you want to start? Maybe you can tell us about you, what your projects are, what you're working on, and something we don't know about you.
Of course, thank you, Andrea. So, hi everyone, I'm Marian Villa. I work in developer relations at Interledger Foundation. The mission, we are building an open, inclusive financial ecosystem that gives people access and opportunity no matter where they are. My work seeks an intersection between technology, community, and human connections, and that's why today's conversation matters to me. Thank you, and I'm grateful to be here and excited to join this conversation.
Amazing, Marianne. Thank you. Dr. Juliet, you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Good morning from my side of the world. My name is Dr. Juliet Agocha. I am the founder of Ultimate Tech. We are all about technology. We are here in the Maryland location, DC. I am also currently an advocate for the community. I'm also running for county council for my district. And I am so happy to be here to connect and also to pass knowledge. So thank you so much for having me today.
Beautiful. Thank you, Juliet. Maybe Janine? I think you're muted.
Okay, can you hear me now? Perfect. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Jeannie Doherty, and my clients call me the Money Whisperer. And I'm also in the Maryland area. I'm actually in the Bethesda area, and I work with couples as well as entrepreneurs because I help them rewire their money brain. Because if we're investing in new technology and trying to break our old patterns, we need to rewire that money brain.
Amazing. Thank you, Jenny. Antoine? Sorry, I maybe mispronounced your name.
No, it's okay. It's Antoine. Good morning, guys. How y'all doing? I'm Antoine. I'm the founder of Legatree. Legatree is a legacy management platform designed to help families transfer all things that are important to them, from documents to videos, images, and then be able to transfer that legacy on to the next generation. Something interesting about myself, I am a professional poker player. I travel the circuit playing tournament poker.
Great, thank you, Antoine. Emily?
Hello, everybody. I'm Emily Wright, joining from Vancouver, Canada. I am a certified life coach focusing on the intersection of psychology and technology and looking at how our behavior can be manipulated through algorithms and content online. And I'm excited to be here for this summit today because I'm a big proportionate for universal basic income. And I think that it's something that can help us to find fulfillment and to be able to maximize our potential. So I'm excited to see how this conversation goes today.
Thank you, Emily. And Christy?
Yeah, hi, everybody. My name is Christy Straw. I'm coming to you from Charlotte. I'm a former banking and wealth management executive turned entrepreneur, best-selling author, and keynote speaker. I'm really excited to be here today because my work sits at the intersection of visibility, influence, and profit. And I do a lot of speaking and coaching around those items. Something that's interesting about me is that I'll be 45 on Friday, and I'm calling it 40 fine, and I love it.
Amazing. Happy birthday, and hope you have a great day. So my name is Andrea Camargo. I'm the founder of Refi Collective. We're based in Bogota, Colombia. We work with regenerative design and blockchain technologies to redefine the value of money. Because, I mean, we all want to attract financial capital to our territories, but sometimes we don't question where this money is coming from and what are the paradigms that are, like leading the money narrative. So really happy to be here with you all. I think we're gonna have an amazing conversation. Please jump in whenever you want. I will just guide with the questions, but this space is yours. So, how do you define fulfillment beyond financial wealth, and what metrics can we use to measure it? Maybe it would be interesting. Janine, you want to start? Jenny, sorry.
Sorry, my mic got stuck again. I'm sorry. Could you please repeat the question?
Yes. How do you define fulfillment beyond financial wealth, and what metrics can we use to measure it?
So, how I encourage myself and obviously my clients to find the fulfillment is to think a little bit more long term than what is quick and dirty and fast. A lot of times, what we focus on is what is good, fast, and cheap. And then we go off the rails because we're trying to do everything at low cost without always understanding that in order to build wealth, it might take you longer, it might take you more money, but that may be part of the journey. So, the metrics that I encourage, besides the basics about savings and investing, which is it's like, well, who's in your circle? Like, who do you keep closest to you? What are you following? What is your financial diet, or what is your, time away from music or just reading? Like, what else do you nourish yourself with? Because if all you hear is an echo chamber, it doesn't matter if it's positive or negative, you are still missing out.
Amazing. That's super interesting. Like, whatever we see outside, we also replicate inside, right?
Yes.
Marianne, do you want to comment on this one?
Yeah, so I think fulfillment, at least for me, is the alignment between what I value, what I create, and how I contribute to others. So it's a measure less by money and more by energy, meaning, and connection. And I look at metrics like the quality of my relationships, how often I feel proud like of my work, and wherever I'm growing while helping others grow.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. I agree. Who else wants to comment on fulfillment and those metrics? Yeah,
Yeah, I can.
Antoine, go ahead.
I think for me, I'm like the designated tech person for my circle, for my friends and family. So I found myself building apps that are personal only for them to use. So I really get a big, joy, a kick out of that. And the way I measure that is just how impactful the project or the app that I built for the family, like how impactful is it really to their lives? Like, does it change? Does it help them? So I've built about 6 or 7 apps for family and friends that probably will never see, the internet. So
Amazing. And I see this connection between, feeling fulfilled and attracting that abundance and that wealth, looking into that long run, not just the short victories, right? Let's go to our next question. So, what factors contribute to a feeling of fulfillment, and how can it be nurtured? Maybe Christy, you want to go ahead?
Yeah. So, as far as if I'm feeling fulfilled or not, or my clients, it really is a matter of what kind of freedom do you have? So, for me, as I exited corporate and entered the founder world and am now on a board for women venture tech scalable founders, I really am interested to hear what their idea of fulfillment is so that they don't experience burnout outside of corporate like so many of us did while we were inside of corporate. And so I talk a lot about freedom of time, freedom of money, freedom of relationship, meaning I can pick and choose who I want in my life, whether that's professionally or personally, family or otherwise. I'm not obligated to any. And to be able to have the freedom to choose that is oftentimes for my own clients something that they're really working toward. They really want to stop feeling obligated and secretly or not so secretly resentful of not feeling fulfilled. And so a lot of times I find that when we start talking about the freedoms, right, your time freedom, your money freedom, your relationship freedom, and your purpose freedom, what is the purpose that you're trying to make in the world? For me, I left and created a whole private dinner series that's now gone global because I didn't like that executives didn't have high EQ. It really bothered me. So when I left, I thought, my purpose is going to be to create a place where people can come and have these types of conversations, and it's the norm versus you being the outlier for having emotional intelligence and all those good things. So I would say it's the freedoms. How many of the freedoms do you have? And that translates to fulfillment.
Wow, that's really powerful because it shifts the story from, okay, I need financial wealth to then achieve freedom. Instead, we look into what makes us free at the beginning, and then all these things will just kind of flow, right?
Snaps for you.
Thank you so much, Christy. Emily, and after Julia.
Hi. Yeah, it's interesting. Last night I was looking through these questions and I asked my partner what he thought fulfillment was, because he says all the time that he feels really fulfilled and he's living the life that makes him happy. And he said, deriving joy and satisfaction from your actions and having your actions aligned with your beliefs. And I thought it was really cool, so I wrote it down. And I think that it comes back to what Marian was saying about having your values aligned with your actions, because I feel like in the current economy, sometimes we have to make choices about whether or not we want to act on in terms of our ethics and our values, or do we do what we need to do to survive. And I think navigating that balance can help us find fulfillment. Is a little difficult to measure because it's more of a emotional, energetic thing, and feeling like you're seen and feeling like you're heard and that you're contributing, but also enjoying what you're doing, and you're doing it because you choose it and it makes you feel good, but at the same time honoring that we're a collective species and there's a certain satisfaction that we get from contributing our unique value to the collective and seeing how that has a ripple effect. Yeah, that's what I would say for that.
Really, really amazing phrase. And I don't know why I thought about this kind of prolonged longevity humans are now having, and how that is going to kind of switch our ideals of the rat race. Sometimes we in our businesses always have like always looking for new businesses, for new opportunities, and having this burnout and not looking into ourselves and our wealth and our health, and how that impacts our longevity and our fulfillment, right? So really important. Juliet, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Andre. I think fulfillment means different for everybody. There are people who fulfillment for themselves is having a family. Some others fulfillment may be education, and some fulfillment is business, right? So for each and every one of us, fulfillment may mean different. But one thing about the factors that contribute to that feeling of fulfillment, I think, is the gratitude that comes from whatever path that we chose to pursue. For those in business, the gratitude of helping a customer, a client. For those like seeking for education, is like the fulfillment of accomplishing maybe a master's degree, doctorate degree. I remember when I was in my PhD, that was my fulfillment at that level. Like, I want to achieve this, right? And then I achieved it. I was so happy. Oh, yes, I did it. Now I'm running for county council now. That is another level of fulfillment for me. So fulfillment is actually like a very diverse something, depend on where we are in our journey and our own alignment and our own purpose. But one thing that it has in common is the gratitude that come with it. So as long as we keep our mind on to the gratitude, and as long as we are not so focused on the money aspect of it, we are focusing on the impact we're bringing from that, I think is what is fulfillment. And how we can nurture fulfillment. I think we can nurture fulfillment in different ways, by, of course, reflecting on what really worked. We can also nurture fulfillment by the impact we leave in others. How do you want someone to remember you? That way we can nurture fulfillment like that, because if you help one person through the skills that you have, I think you're fulfilled for that day or for that season. And we can also invest in what really matters. That is how we can nurture fulfillment by, if maybe you have children, you invest your time in them, you nurture fulfillment like that, because once you have that fulfillment of, this is how I want my family to look like, you are feeling fulfilled in that area. So is fulfillment means different for everybody, but one thing that it has in common is gratitude. Regardless of the path that you choose, how you feel on the inside is what really matters. And just balancing everything and having gratitude along the way.
Beautiful. Thank you, Julia. And I think that gratitude is also connected to the spiritual experience we're having as humans, right? Like, we connect to like a broader oneness, if you will, and you start to evolve your own self, and that fulfillment will also kind of evolve based on your experiences. Let's go to our next questions. How do societal expectations and cultural norms affect our understanding of fulfillment? Who wants to add on this one? Go ahead, Mariana.
I was reflecting on what Christine and also Emily and Dr. Juliet said. And I think society often teaches that success is accumulation, or like more money, more status, more output. But many cultures, especially in Latin America, also teach us like resilience, community, and the value of collective well-being. And women, especially in tech, carry expectations to be perfect and strong at all times that can distort fulfillment. But working in open technology reminds me, like daily, that contributions, not comparison, is what truly matters.
Yes, and I can relate as I'm also in Latam. It can be a competitive environment, and it can push you to your limits working in technology. And maybe in those moments it's good to reconnect to your purpose, right? Welcome, Sierra. Sorry, I don't have your
Yes.
name.
Hi, how are you, Andrea?
Good, thank you. If you want, you can present yourself, what you're
Yes, of
doing,
course.
and join the conversation.
Yes, definitely. I manage distinct projects, not just within one vertical, but also kind of spanning a large group of investors. I represent an investor group, and these investors are always looking for a return on their investments. It's somewhat difficult to talk to them about fulfillment and purpose and all this stuff. And somehow I always intend to make it part of my conversations, which is what sets me apart from other managers or fundraisers. These conversations have to always be nurturing, and that's one thing I keep in mind, is how can I nurture my leads, how can I nurture my investors. Always bringing value is technically my priority, right? I definitely understand that money is money. They got to get their return in the end. And so we discuss numbers. We get all that conversation out of the way. But making it a point to always bring this into substantial roundtable conversations is truly important. And it's necessary within our sphere in order to ground the conversation also. You don't want to be just, over here talking, ideas, projects, innovations, etc. You also want to talk about the essential pillars of building wealth and maintaining a legacy. I established Investors with Legacy to do just that, to make people think about the long term, to get people thinking into the investor mindset and away from the consumer mindset. And this is something that we provide as educational value to my community, and it's free of charge. I don't charge any money for talking about these things and adding value to people, actually giving them the tools to be able to preserve their wealth, essentially, right? And so societal expectations and cultural norms, it's really embedded within this matrix that we live in. In Islam, they call it the dunya. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's technically a cloud, a dream that's built around our experience on this planet. And if I can just get a little spiritual here, we don't come to life to just get all these things, even though they make us think that that's what we're here to do, right? And I like this community that you've built, and then Andrea, and thank you for this space where we can talk about the distinct aspects of wealth. It's not just physical, like assets. It's also mental. It's also spiritual. So if you're feeding all the 4 pillars of life, which is financial, mental, spiritual, and emotional, then you're off to a good start. And I feel in our generation, people of our generation, if we start, leading with this intent of building all 4 pillars vertically and in an integrated manner, then wealth is going to become something different. Wealth is going to start, discussing subjects of also wellness and integrating those 2 things. I feel like if we can expand our perspective and gather greater understanding that money, wealth is energy, and how to manage it, and how to also not fund under stress. Like you mentioned, burnout. That's something that you see in the corporate world left and right. And corporate is so behind, they're barely starting to implement, in hospitals, for example, for nurses, meditations, which is something that, should have been allowed from the start. They should, give you 10 minutes to go do and have a little sacred space for you to go into and do your meditations and such. It's basic stuff that as employers, when head of teams, when you implement that and you nurture your team that way, it strengthens the company, it strengthens the entity, right? So as leaders, understanding this pillar of maintaining your employees' mental health, you're investing in the greatest engine of your company, which is manpower, right? Mental power, mind power. And I feel the only way to do this is to have these conversations. So again, thank you.
No, thank you for that great introduction and your comments. And something that I want to maybe bring to the conversation is you mentioned there are many kind of forms or types of capital. And I think we have mentioned the spiritual capital, intellectual capital, natural capital, maybe material capital as well. We also have social capital, financial, and cultural. I don't know if those are the 8, but this broader perspective of how we see capital make us more connected to our reality, and to start measuring other things that also matter apart from money, right? And I would like to include Antoine in the conversation because as you also manage family offices or family patrimonies,
Yeah,
how do
absolutely.
you think these different types of capitals play into the long-term strategy for that?
And I think most of our values, our norms, the things that we deem important, it comes from our environment. It comes from our family, our community, the people that we're around. If I'm third generation wealthy, then my whole belief system is accumulation, constantly compounding that interest. But if someone like me that I've never had money, my grandfather, my great grandfather, no one had money in my family. I'm probably the first one to actually try to, start something that can scale and grow. So I think it's really just our environment where we come from, and so that's one of the reasons why I built, Legatree. Is because family means everything to me. So I wanted to build something that every family could benefit from. Every family could pass down their legacy to the next generation, and not just money, right? The platform is really great for important documents, analyzing documents, estate planning, all that good stuff. But it's also about the photos, the audio files, recipes, pictures from the 30s that we have on our platform. And so I think really it just comes down to your environment, what you're around, your family, your friends. That's going to determine, what's norm, what you value. So it's all about environment.
Amazing. Thank you, Antoine. Someone else wants to comment? Yes, Denise.
Okay, I think I got it right this time. Okay. What I was going to say is that the societal and cultural expectations then get bred into our family systems, and we are sort of expected to compete. Doesn't matter if you have a job or if you own a business. Competition is supposed to be healthy, but then we really struggle with collaboration. And yet we make money with other people's money. So collaboration would be the smartest way to do this. And when it starts to block our fulfillment, it's because we spend too much time in comparison and competition, that it then basically creates this film, and it's harder to think, so that we are not able to be like, oh, now I'm really clear. I have the clarity. I know what I want to do next, or how I'm going to go about moving myself from A to B to C to D. Because competition is so strong. It's like the only muscle that you use, the only tool in your belt. And then it creates a lopsided society.
I wanted
Yes,
to
I'm really glad.
something there.
Yeah, go ahead.
What Jenny said, and I love that, because I think from the technology aspect of life and community also, I think the societal expectation of and culture norm about fulfillment is because the society see fulfillment as a status and as a title and as a possession. So if, for example, social media is everywhere now, right? People can post anything. Now the society kind of tag that as, when they see something flashy, luxury, that is their definition of fulfillment. Oh, this person is doing well. But in reality, the person that is not posting may actually be the person who is fulfilled. Right. So I think it's just the societal norm of defining fulfillment as a title. Fulfillment is not a title. It's something that you defined what makes you fulfilled. Is a personalized something. Like I said before, there are people, their fulfillment is family. Some are spiritual, some are physical, some are psychological. So, but the society want to box us in a way whereby fulfillment is measured by luxury, is measured by how many companies you have, it measured by if you are the CEO, it measured by your physical accomplishment. It shouldn't be that way. So I just also want to echo that for those watching us today, that fulfillment is not a status thing, it's not a title thing, it's not your possession. Fulfillment for me as Dr. Juliet is how many life I'm able to change positively. Fulfillment for me is how much impact I'm making in my community. Fulfillment is how do someone see me, how they view me. So for me, I am fulfilled if I can just impact one life a day. So that is what fulfillment means to me. Fulfillment to me is my children. I want to see them happy. I want to see them, doing well in school. That is my own fulfillment, So we have to, as leaders we are, whether through our business or through the community, we have to keep emphasizing the redefinition of fulfillment. It's not title, it's not your positions, it's not your accomplishment, and all that is the impact that we bring as a community.
Doctor, I have a quick question for you. How do you span these ideas onto your children? Is there a specific method you use in order to get them thinking also in this direction? I know nowadays we're so about instant gratification, and so complementing this with what you just mentioned would be a good tool to have in the toolbox.
Thank you. Yeah, Sarah. I'll say I tell my children about failure more than I tell them about success. I walk my children through my path of how many times I have failed in life, because I think it's very important when we include our vulnerabilities, if we include how much we have failed more than how much we have succeeded, because it's easy to succeed and keep succeeding, then it's easy to fail and pick yourself up. So for me, I like to incorporate failure into every story. This is how mommy started. Listen, I used to be homeless. Oh, mommy, really? So how did you come out of it? So that impact, I make them to understand, is not about the failure. It's about how I was able to use that failure to do something positive right now in the community. So for me, it's about telling my children that life is not about roses. Okay, so you can expect to have peanut butter in it, and it's okay. But what matters in life is how much that you are able to use what happened to you to now become a voice for others. I have seen people who suffered domestic violence, and now they are advocate for domestic violence. They don't want another person to pass through that. So that is what fulfillment is all about. And that is what I see there. This society is actually into kind of luxury a lot more than like kind of knowledge. So it just kind of passing valuable knowledge, including failure stories and success stories along the way. I think that's how I'm able to put my children into a great perspective about what fulfillment is. I hope I'm able to answer your question.
No, that's really, really amazing. And I recently read that 98% of our DNA, of those genes, we don't know what they're coding for. We just know that what the 2% does, but the other 98% we don't know. And probably, I don't know, it's my hypothesis that the stories that we tell our children and the next generations, they also have that in their DNA, right? I mean, there is so much more information that we still don't know where it goes. But I think passing on these type of narratives and stories is so important for us to reconnect to our nature within different cultures, Let's go to this next question. Yeah. So that brings to, it connects to the community a lot. And I think we've talked about it, our society and our relationships. But how important is community connection in the pursuit of fulfillment? Maybe Emily can start.
Yeah, I feel like we've touched on this a few times, where we recognize we are a communal species and community is really important to us. And we can see how, right now we're in a bit of a loneliness epidemic, and there are many of us that have challenges understanding what fulfillment means in the first place. And I think some of that comes from the current structure of society and economics, where we are so competitive, as you're talking about before, and we have inadvertently created more space between us, even though there's more of us living in a closer space. If you look at our downtown spaces, we have so many people crammed in a small area, but that isn't necessarily building community. There are a lot more people that feel like they're surrounded by strangers, and yet at the same time we're taught stranger danger. So if you're living in a space where you're constantly surrounded by strangers and there's strangers all around you, then that's not going to help you feel secure. And I think it can be challenging to find fulfillment and find lasting fulfillment rather than just temporary satisfaction when you don't feel connected and you don't feel connected to other people. And at the same time, if you don't feel validated, if you're trying to put your creation out there, you're using your time the best you can to try and create something for yourself and contribute to society. But if you're not getting any feedback, if you're not getting anybody saying, hey, this is great, if you're not seeing that one person a day who is benefiting from what you're doing, it can be hard to continue to pursue that, and it can be hard to see the value in that yourself. So I'd say, yeah, it is very important. And I'd like to see that shift in the next few years and us to find our sense of community to help us find our sense of self and sense of fulfillment.
Wow, really powerful what you just said, Emily. And connecting also the kind of perspective that competition sometimes feels more familiar than collaboration. I mean, in nature, there is competition, of course, there is predation, but the most energy efficient way of co-creating is through collaboration, right? And if we can be inspired by nature's principles, it kind of runs through us, and we can apply this to our organizations, to our families as well, and reconnect not only to each other but to that ecological wisdom that surrounds us. Maybe who wants to comment on community connection? Maybe Antoine
Yeah, I'll go. Yeah.
or Marian?
I think as we enter this agentic age of technology that we're heading into, where the agents are going to be doing probably 80-90% of the repetitive manual type of work that humans, to be honest, don't want to do anyway. I think we really have a time period where we can really reconnect with each other. In the next 10, 15, 20 years, where we'll find ourselves kind of with a lot more time on our hands because the agents will be doing a lot of the work for us. That's not a time to, okay, accumulate more money because now we've laid off all these employees, but now it's a time to get back to nature, get back to caring for more than just the things that we want to accumulate: finance, cars, jewels, all those things. What about the planet? What about the animals? What about the oceans? Things like that. So I think this time period is an amazing time for humans to reconnect. It might be a time period where we've never really had because we've always been so busy. But now we're ushering to this agentic age where, we're going to have a lot of more time on our hands. So it's probably, the greatest time ever for humans, to be honest.
Yes, totally. Marianne, you wanted to comment?
Yes, of course, I work with community, and for me, I think and I truly believe like community is essential. Fulfillment is something we build together. Belonging give us resilience, clarity, and also joy, and remind us that matter not because of what we do, but because of who we are. And I think the most fulfilled people I know are deeply connected to others. And I think, especially in the work I do at Interledger Foundation, is just build and co-build the mission of open, inclusive financial access. And is rooted in the belief like the community is the real foundation of progress.
Wow, I would definitely want to continue talking with you all because this conversation has been so deep and rich. And I really value that you bring this, let's say, view of the world, because it's really inspiring and really hopeful. And I think that is the type of conversation we need right now. I want to close on with this question, because it brings both the hopeful kind of future, but also the apocalyptic one, because the more some small amount of people accumulate wealth, the more we increase the amount of debt, the more we degrade ecosystem. It kind of creates like a reinforcing loop of destruction, and of course there can be solutions, but we have to also see the reality. I mean, I think it was this week that the US just printed like a bunch of money and it's injecting it into the economy. Like, I want to see your perspectives on this, and which internal and social gaps that widen while wealth grows. So whoever wants to go ahead.
Well, I would just jump in and said, I think the more we acquire wealth or we are fulfilled, kind of gap widen. For example, let's say 5 years ago, most of us here can agree with me that maybe we used to have time for girls chat and have time for little things by the side. But you add business, then you add spouse, then you add maybe kids, then you add so many things, and sometimes it can feel kind of loneliness, and it can kind of widen the gap. Some friends may think that you don't care anymore, even when you truly cares. But it's just that you have a lot of responsibilities right now, So the more we kind of acquire wealth, the more we can widen the gap. In mostly, the more wealth grows, the widen the gap. However, we just have to find a healthy balance on it. We have to be able to be very clear of our expectations and set boundaries. It's very important when, regardless of how much internal responsibility or social responsibilities that we have, is important to set your boundaries clear and have a very clear expectations. I can be able to be there for you tomorrow, but I can be able to be there on weekend. Be very clear, because clarity kind of clears any kind of gap. And communication is important. It could be just a text message. Hey, I won't be able to make it, or I'm running late, something like that. Don't just let the wealth grow. Don't grow your business and then close up relationship. Don't grow money and then close up stability. Don't grow wealth and close up the same channel that help you to grow, right? So because right now, with the whole society and the community we live in, relationship is very essential, which is also like the community we're talking about. But building relationship, it doesn't have to be personal. It can be a business relationship, but it's very important. So I will, say that how social gap widen is because the wealth is growing, our businesses are growing, we are more busier than how we used to be before. And in that aspect, when we are not clear with our expectation, when we still want to pour from the same cup we used to pour from 3 years ago, 5 years ago, you kind of set, you set yourself up for failure, right? Because you are giving people the expectation that you have time, but then you don't have the time. So it's very important to set your boundaries, what you can do and what you cannot do. And it's good to put yourself as a priority, regardless of how much you want your business to grow. You are the business. So if anything happens to you now, what happened, right? So it's always good to set clear expectation, set clear boundary, and also balance things. Healthy balance start with clarity and intention. So I think that's how we can kind of close the gap that wealth is widened, because it's going to happen.
Mhm.
And I think one of the things that we all agree to here is the moment you start your business or whatever you're doing, your intention is for that thing to grow. So growth brings also a lot of, things. So you have to set your intention right and set a very healthy balance between everything you have going on.
Mhm. Amazing. Thank you, Juliet. We have like 5 more minutes, so each one maybe can comment 1 minute for us to close here. Yeah. Mariana? Mariana? Yes.
Yes, I'll go ahead and just add that in my time of working with distinct levels of, C-suite execs all the way to just families, simple, mom and pop shops. There's always a gap when it comes to the personal life, but then also the financial things, and they run hand in hand. So sometimes when your personal aspects are not in tune or aligned, then your finances start reflecting it, right? It's very tied in. And so across the years, I've studied, very different methods of not just healing, but also, alchemical reactions within the body, the illnesses that start within our subconscious and then reflect in the outer world. Those are also very prominent within the space. My background's in medicine, so I dove deep into preventative medicine and metaphysics and how to correct all these types of things. And so bringing all that into the finance sphere also, well, plays a big part, definitely. One of the things when it comes to spiritual gaps, I find, and I was just having this conversation, is the rule of investing in general. The rule number one of investing is investing in yourself. So if you cannot, prioritize all the tasks that you have to do as a person running a company, running an entity, or leading a team, it really just comes down to self-nurturing, and Dr. Juliet mentioned it. It's one of the very important verticals within our daily living, is that we first establish that we have to be okay to then run the entire other thing, or else, when those exterior motives, whether it be people or situations, start going sideways, I guess as we could say, it means that you have to really come to what you're doing and what you're projecting out into the world, right? It's very tied in. It's very, very tied in. We have to become aware of these things. Investing then in these internal responses. So always managing your time and putting boundaries, as she mentioned already, is super important. It's very, very important to prioritize the things that nurture and give you energy, so then that you can keep, giving to the community and giving back. And on the financial aspect, then it becomes very tied in. You got to invest in alignment, invest in community, invest in cash flowing assets that actually provide a service to those around you. And that's when then you can start seeing a good flux of income and a return on your investment, because you're aligned to the motives behind those companies. So doing your due diligence accordingly, not just investing in something because somebody told you to, but investing because you believe in that. It aligns with your ethics, it aligns with your moral, it aligns with the way you see the world. Then that's where the return really comes in.
Amazing. Thank you, Mariana. Okay, we have 2 minutes. Maybe some closing words. Yes, Jenny?
Oh, I was just going to say, one of the things that I find happens when it comes to these gaps, internally speaking, when I work with folks, is that it is numbness. So we might actually create the money that we're looking for, but then we get numb, which then feeds anxiety and boredom. And then we kind of end up creating more problems, not only in our families, with ourselves, but also in our communities and our businesses. So in terms of finding fulfillment, we have to be aware that we can self-sabotage at any time, any moment of the day. So if we don't have the right tools, the right resources, the right skills, what are we asking ourselves really to do?
Wow, powerful. I'll look into that in my daily activities as well. Who else wants to comment? Marianne, go ahead.
I will say like balance is a practice, not a perk. And today it reminds me that fulfillment is not a destination; is you build it with practice. So when we do that, like wealth becomes like a tool, not the goal.
Wow, super powerful. Antoine, go ahead. You'll
Yeah,
be
I would
the
just say,
last, I think.
yeah, I would just say piggyback off what everyone else just says. Be mindful, especially as an entrepreneur when you're building a brand, building a business. It's going to require everything from you. And I've seen personally relationships get strained because I've dedicated everything to growing my business. So just be mindful and reach out to your people and stay connected.
Beautiful. Thank you all so much for this conversation. As I say, I learned so much. Let's keep connected to each other and keep learning from the different wealth perspectives and fulfillment um, wisdom you all had today. Thank you so much. Our gather was well.